Thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to use the microphone. I do talk well, but I'll use the microphone anyway. Thank you for coming this evening. We wanted to invite the public in one last time to ask any questions that you may have concerning what we have put on the ballot for the upcoming election. The Board of Education has worked extremely hard even before I was superintendent, and putting this together, looking at different plans. And as we all know, we've gone through some tough times with COVID, and we got back on track with this afterwards, and we're trying to look at the options, and this was what we came up with, the best option. The board wanted to answer any questions that you may have, and I'd like to remind you that if you don't have an answer for a question, there are, right outside the door here, there is a notepad. Mrs. Canavo, the principal at Dover Hill, is standing over there. You can leave your phone number, email, and name, and we'll get you the answer as soon as possible. Also, going on in the background here is a 3D animation. If you have not seen that, it is on our school websites. It's just a rendition of what this project will look like when it's finished. Somebody asked, the original version did not have the central office location on it. We had that installed, put on there, and it is now on this one. So feel free, you can go on our website. That's not easy to see, and take a look at that. Before we get started with questions, I want to just real quickly look what the project is. We have a proposed building project here at Wayne Trace. The total project that we have, for lack of a better term, that we have decided to go with is $30,286,453. The Wayne Trace Board of Education Capital Project Fund is $2 million that will be subtracted, as well as the State of Ohio Career Tech Grant, which we received. I think it's $1.6 million that we received for our STEAM program. If you got to take a tour of that, she was giving tours, and I do want to say that tomorrow from 5 to 7, you can come in and check out the STEAM Center as well to see what space we're using now. Angie has done a great job, and we have some of the things that our students are making. They're hung up around town, and they're in our building as well. If you saw the veterans banners hanging up, we made those here. We have other banners that we have produced that are on the walls throughout our school. That $1.6 million, there were not that many schools that got that grant. Angie applied for that grant, and I think us and Brian were the only two in this immediate area that received that grant. We are allowed to use that money to renovate classrooms should we need to do that. And that would go along with this project as well. So the amount that we want to finance is $26,686,453. The Wayne Trace Board of Education allocation of current and future renewable energy resources, which would be our windmills, is $8 million. So we want to subtract that from our total, which the bond that we have that is going to be on the ballot is for 4.91 mils, $18,686,453. That is how much we are asking for when it's all said and done. This will allow us to build an auditorium to the northeast of our building, which is on the rendition right there. It is, and also a community wellness center. We call it a community wellness center because it will be utilized for the community can't utilize that building. The building would have a gymnasium in it, walking track. There's also room in there for our weight room would be put out there. There's a room in there if you wanted to have, say you're having a Christmas party or graduation, the community can use that. And it's very similar to using the weight room in our facilities right now. those of you that have a fob and come into our building and use that, coming into the building, going into the community center would be much easier for us anyway, because we can utilize that space at a different sorts of hours. The weight room that we currently have in the building is super nice. That does take up 2 classrooms, 2 to 3 classrooms. And also with the community center, we could also move our wrestling team out to that building, which frees up maybe 3 more classrooms. That is what we are wanting to do for our STEAM program, to free up those spaces for that program. Angie has acquired many pieces of equipment that is being utilized to make the things that you see that they have on display out there. And we're getting that equipment through grants for our students. So, anyhow, I've been bragging long enough. I would like to introduce to you Jeremy Moore, President of the Board of Education. He would like to say just a few words, and then we'll get started with questions.
I'll sit here. So I probably won't repeat too much of what Paul said, but he did a fairly good job of explaining what the facility that we're proposing would look like. Obviously, you can see it behind us here. What I kind of want to do is just give everyone here, I know I'm still seeing some faces here that were in our last regular board meeting in September, so it may sound like I'm repeating myself, but I just would like everyone to understand where we as a board came from. And like Paul said, our predecessors, a few others that are no longer on the board, kind of started this and got the ball rolling, and then of course with COVID and some other things with superintendent swap and among other things, it kind of had to be put on the back burner for a while. But this is something that's been happening for quite some time. Probably more so on the music end, with the band and choir and the issues they have, and of course a performance space for them. But the more that we deliberated in the last 2.5 years, I would say, it all started, at least with me, while I was on back in about 2.5 years ago. I forget the 2022, maybe January. There was a community meeting that we had actually in this gym, this very spot, and maybe some of you have come. I think there's probably more people at that meeting than here, but they came in and our architects at the time that we were proposing some building project of some sort just to see where we were at, and they put together basically a survey within the meeting to where they could see what are the needs, what are the wants, where are we lacking, where are we good, and we were able to gather some data from that meeting. And then fast forward through the next year, up until the middle of last year, we had sent out a community survey in the mail. Many of you probably received those. I think we had correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, 28% participation on that, which seems like a small number, but according to our architects, it's actually very good. They were surprised in our community we were able to get that many people participating, more than a quarter. As well as an in-house staff survey of just different parts of our facility, where we need help, where we need. And with that data, we were able to analyze that and figure out, okay, here's where we're lacking, let's get a priority list. And every step of the way in the last 2.5 years, we've kind of analyzed that data to see where we're at, what can we do, how can we remedy the problems. And what we came down to was just what Paul said, a facility out in the current junior high baseball outfield, behind the visitor bleachers of the football field. And we're calling it a community wellness center, but there's so many features of that, and there's so many reasons why we decided. I can't get into everything, that would take too much time, and we want to get to the public to ask some questions. But I just want everyone to understand where we decided and how we came to this. With that building, we're able to free up, 4.5 to 5 additional classrooms that are being utilized now for wrestling, just right down the hallway, and for the weight room. And those are much needed spaces. And of course, we learned that through a lot of our data. We did walkthroughs last year. The board went through all 3 buildings and found out a lot of deficiencies here, as well as the other 2 buildings. But so with the addition of the Wellness Center, not only can we free up the classroom space in here that's much needed for the STEAM program and to utilize the grants that Angie was able to acquire, but we're also talking, new football locker rooms that are out there, junior high and high school, so they're not coming in here. If you've ever been to a home football game, you know where the visitors have to go pretty much around the entire school. That's one benefit. I'm just trying to name a few other benefits. There's so many that I probably can't name them all off of memory. Bathrooms, facilities, of course, out there. Parking was a big one. Parking, we had so much data on the parking. And of course, if you show up to any extracurricular event or even during your school day, you can see where parking or child drop-off, student drop-off, student pickup can be very, very hectic. So with this proposal, there would actually be an encompassing driveway all the way around the school and have a traffic flow. So there's many other things we can answer if you have questions about that. And of course, the band and choir they're busting at the seams. Most of you are probably aware that our band and choir is second to none in the state. I mean, they're getting top numbers every year at state, and they're busting at the seams on numbers. Over 50% of our high school and junior high class base is involved in band, choir, drama, or sometimes all 3. So with that being said, they have to tear down and set up every day during the class time, multiple times. If you've ever walked down that hallway, I encourage you to do that tonight if you have the time. It's hard to even navigate down that hallway with all the equipment that they have. They have to store some out in the hallways, and anyways, I don't want to get into too much of that, but we could possibly answer that question later or elaborate on it a little more if you need us to. So with the addition off the northeast corner of the school, kind of where the central offices are now, there would be, of course, an auditorium that's being proposed. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but light years ahead of anything that we currently have. We have the current central office will be renovated for the daily classroom use for both band and choir. They would be using the same room, but separate rooms. Obviously, more storage and an adequate facility for that. And then around the corner, kind of hard to explain, but in where the dumpster area is now, would be a new central office wing where that would be relocated on the 127th side. And of course, there would be an entirely new curb appeal to the front of the school. So the third part of that, I think, is the STEAM. I'll actually look at my notes here now. But if you're not familiar with STEAM, there's some literature out there. Looks like this. So Angie Stokes, who kind of spearheads that here at Wind Trace, she's here. I'm sure could answer any questions or give you a tour. I know that they kind of have it open right now. Some of the students would give you a tour of that. Not sure how long they're going to be here. But with that being said, STEAM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And it's really something that we're focused on here at Wind Trace. And it kind of gives hands-on skills and training for something that can certainly be used in the child's career. So that's something we would like the school to really gear towards. And this proposal that we're setting up to be voted on next month, it really would benefit the STEAM program exponentially. So that's where we came from. We're kind of putting it in the hands of the public at this point. It's our job to find a remedy for issues here at the school, and for lots of reasons that I can't sit here and take too much of your time. That's how we have deliberated. This is not something that we have just sprung one all of a sudden. We try to be as transparent as we can. We've sat in countless meetings with architects amongst ourselves. We've done walkthroughs. Dick Schwer is here. He helped us out plenty in the last couple of years while he was on the board. So we've got a lot of assets of people helping us out and just helping us get to where we are. And I will mention too, I mentioned this last meeting, that we're a very diverse group here as a board, and I'm pretty confident, as diverse as we are in our, of course, genders, our age, our locations geographically, our careers, that we're confident that any number of people from our district that would be up here and know the things that we do and able to talk it over and deliberate and all those things, I believe we've come to the same conclusion. So I was thinking that was worth saying. So I'll let that go, and I'll go take it from here and answer some questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll get started with questions. There's no format to this. If you would like to use the microphone, raise your hand, I'll give it to you. Please don't interrupt anybody that's speaking if they're asking a question. And we'll get to your question afterwards. So we're going to start right now. We'll open it up. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Anybody raise your hand.
There we go. All right.
I should also speak loud enough. We're getting $8 million from the windmills. I guarantee money.
That is money that we are going to set aside with the revenues that we're going to be taking in the future. So when you say it's guaranteed as long as we've got, the leases and wind farms are producing energy.
So that could go away in 2 years. I mean, we're not definitely happy, correct?
There are contracts that are in place that money is to be generated every year.
And then how long is the contracts for?
30 years. We're in year 10, 30 on the lease.
On the leases.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we're guaranteed with that contract 30 years of getting that $8 million?
We're guaranteed as long as those contracts are in place.
So we're not guaranteed that?
As long as the windmills are producing the energy, then we will get the revenue.
Okay, so
And the leases are with the farmers, and I don't know, Chad, maybe you can answer that best on the leases or the...
it's a yes or no question. Are we guaranteed that money for the next 30 years?
As long as the windmills don't go away.
So the answer is no.
And I guess...
The windmills quit turning tomorrow? The answer is no. Yeah.
As far as the lease goes, yes, there is a lease in place for the windmills, solar projects. To be honest with you, it's one of those things, the lease is as good as the lawyers. So, the windmills, the early windmills that were put back in approximately 12, 15 years ago, at some time those would age out. They have the opportunity to repower those, which would put a different head on, new generating turbine, and that should extend the lease. That doesn't necessarily mean they do that. They have half the infrastructure already there. So it's possible, but it's not a guarantee,
All right, so with that being my second part of the question, if we're not guaranteed that money, what steps are we going to take to recover that money if it does go away? Is that going to be another ballot tax levy?
Well, I can speak to that, the $8 million. When we finance that, it's going to be about $550,000 a year, and I am confident that we will be able to pay that even if we don't have the windmill revenue, because we have, our other general fund revenues coming in.
So if we have the other money coming in, is that something that we could actually be putting towards this and maybe drop the millage down?
That's a good question.
It is a good question, but my fear is if we allocate too much money to this project, then we will be on the ballot for operating money. And that's what we don't want to do. We want to be able to make sure that we can still budget our money and operate so that we do not have to come back to the taxpayers for more money.
So what you're saying is you're willing to take that risk because you're not willing to do it now, but if that goes away, you're willing to take that risk.
Yes.
There's multiple projects in the county, so I mean, if one of these fail, there's still like 6 other ones. There's a solar project next year that, or not next year, it's already been built in Harrison Township. 199,000 additional revenue is the estimate that we were provided to start next year. And Lansing Township, Grover Hill, when is slated to also start another project, construction in 2025. That's estimated to generate between $500,000 and $600,000 for Wayne Trace school districts. Those are 30-year lease. So you're looking a long time before those monies run out. I don't think you're gonna have to worry about the windmill leases running out. The question is, should we reduce the millage? And that should have been asked in the meeting before they put it on the ballot. That's my opinion. But
Okay, so with that being said then, we have this hope money coming in. Will that money be applied to the project in order to pay it off sooner? And, I mean, could that money be applied to the project and be paid off sooner, for we're not carrying this for a 30-year term? I don't know about you, but it's awful nice to pay the home off early. What's our goal here? Can we take the money that you just spoke of and pay this off sooner?
We have done that in the past with the FCC.
But are we
project.
going to do that now?
Well, and yes, you can do that.
No, will you guys be doing that?
Well,
I'm not doing that. I'm not paying that.
No, what we found in the past, when you're financially viable and you have money in the bank, then yeah, you pay those down and you reduce your millage. We've had a long history of doing that, and that would be our intent to do it in the future.
Because I don't know if it's anything like my home. Anytime more funds come in, there always ends up being other needs, and I don't put that money towards the other, or to pay my loan off. I put it towards some other needs because that's things I want. And that's what I'm asking. You know, is that the money we just said that's coming, but the hope money, we'll call it? Is it going to be put towards other needs? More parking, another baseball field? Or will it be put towards this building?
I think we've got a pretty fair history of not overspending. Okay,
And I agree.
Wayne Trace traditionally has been pretty frugal and pretty careful on where we spend our money. We don't have a swimming pool. We don't have a lot of extra stuff. Our athletic complexes aren't world renowned. We don't have turf out on the football field or anything like that. We try to do what we have to do. So no, I don't anticipate that changing in the near future, that we go spend money to put turf on a football field and not put that and say, well, we have this money now, let's do that. I think our first would be to do what we've always done, which is take the money we have, spend it for what we need, and then give the rest back and pay down those additional bills that we have, the outstanding levy, the bonds. So that's what we've done traditionally.
Reduce millage.
Reduce millage. Yep.
And then the board takes on more of that liability when we do that. And we have done that in the past. And I don't foresee that any future boards will not want to do that.
But when we built this gym, was that 30 years ago now? 35? We took a 6 mil levy then and paid it off relatively soon. When we did the entire school project, and that's been 20 years, that was a 30 mil, again for 6%, or 6 mils, I'm sorry. And it's almost all gone. There's still a little bit, but we've paid that down significantly over time and given money back where we needed to. We would anticipate doing the same thing.
Can I make a statement right now? With the way the economy is right now, we don't know about people's jobs. You're going to put a burden on people doing this. Look what's happening with our government. Look what's happening with the border. They can't put stuff in. People need to think of that.
No, recognize that. You know,
You're putting people in jeopardy of not be able to making their house payments, then lose it. They have to put food on. Look at the increase in inflation, 8%. And it goes down. That was at 22. I couldn't pull up anything else.
yeah. You know, you look at it, and we've been considering some of these projects for a number of years, and there never seems to be a good time.
I'm just saying
I
from
mean-
my look,
Yep,
I'm tired of paying farm taxes for the school. I'm tired of paying home tax. And you guys want to raise it more. I get double dipped. Just saying.
nope, appreciate it.
When was the last time the school asked for your money? Was it the project 20 years ago?
Yes, yeah, the OFCC project, when we built on and renovated, was the last time that we had a levy on, other than our renewal of our income tax levy.
How many levies have you let drop with the windmill money coming in?
Well, I can't say it specifically for the windmill money.
Or just in general?
Yeah, the board 5 years ago reduced 2 mills, and they took on that obligation because of revenues coming in. The OFCC project has been rolled back down to $500,000. So that's what everybody's paying on the project that was done 20 years ago. And it started out as 6 mills. So it's been reduced over the years. And we've got about 4 more years, and then that'll be paid off. But the board is paying that difference in that debt right now, over and above what the $500,000 generates.
Yeah, but you look at how much millage we have and you're paying right now, and I know nobody likes paying taxes. But there aren't too many school districts around you can pay any less than what you're paying in wage rates right now in millage. I think that number was, what are we paying? 23? Yeah,
It's
26.
6.2 overall, that's all.
That's everything. So there's a couple schools less than us, but there aren't many. And there's plenty more. Putting this on will take us from, I think, 3rd lowest on the graph to maybe 5th or 6th lowest. But again, it's not, you can go a lot of different schools to pay more, I can assure you that. And that's with the levy going on.
Where's the money going for the permanent improvement fund? What's in that? How much is in that? And where's it going to?
Or,
The permanent improvement fund, we're using that to keep our 3 buildings up, replace roofs, take care of flooring, painting.
Well, how much is in it?
We've got $4 million in there right now.
how much did we use a year?
Anywhere, well, last year we spent $828,000, but we had 600 in obligations at that point that we didn't get paid out at the end of the year. So we were at 1.4 if we would have had everything paid out last year. Probably it'll be at that same amount of money. We have a projection of what we're looking at for the next 2-3 years of what we're going to have to be doing in the buildings, and then all 3 buildings to keep them up. Our HVAC system is going to be our next big project. It's 20 years old. We're going to have to be making some changes there, renovations. Our technology, we buy our buses out of there. We keep our technology current out of that fund. We have rotation on our textbooks that come out of there. We have a 5-year rotation on our curriculum. But the majority of it is maintenance, just keeping all 3 buildings up and going, so.
Why did it take so long for you guys not to put this out sooner? You would probably had a better turnout. I just found out today. I have no questions.
You mean this meeting?
Why wasn't it public, is what she means? It went out to who's ever on your text message list,
Yes.
but it didn't go out to the public.
Why?
It wasn't in these papers like 2-3 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, I put it, I sent 2 alerts out, and we put it on social media, but that's all we did.
Some people don't do social media.
Yeah.
So if we've been thinking about this project for a while, how much money have we saved back for this project? If this has been a plan that's been out there for a while, how much, I mean, in my house, we saved back for big projects like this. How much have we
There's
saved
$2 million put aside about 4 or 5 years ago.
for a $30 million project? If this does not pass, what is your plan to go forward?
I think we will sit down in a board meeting and decide. I mean, if it's a significant loss, then I think we need to go back to square one. That's where I would say we would go. I think that's how all of us would feel, and we would sit down and.
You know, part of putting it out here is seeing, you put it out and see what the voters think. You know, we've done taken our best shot at what we think we need between the music program and supporting STEAM and of what it's gonna cost and just put it out there and how we can finance it with the money we have. We're not here, I mean, school's not here to make money or save money or put money away for a long time. If we had it, we'd spend it on this stuff. Or we would have put more away. But if it goes down, I think the voters are telling us that they don't want this. That's the way I look at it. And they aren't ready for it, they don't want it now, or they don't want it at all. So, but sooner or later, that's what we're looking for, is to hear the voice of what the voters telling us and saying, is this something you want to do or not?
Yeah, I don't think that's not one. Obviously, if we need to reverse the procedure, I think the contingency is we can't agree on not to pay it. So, I mean, to throw it out there and say we don't want it, I don't think that's a fair statement at all.
Well, yeah, and you know, we've scratched our heads, and Lori's better at school finance than anybody around that we know of, and trying to figure out how to finance it the best way possible and not impact voters as minimally. I think, you know, we're not here to try to punish anybody or make it more expensive than what it needs to be. I wish it didn't cost this much. I wish it a lot of different things, but it is what it is. And if we want this is the cost right now, and this is we don't know of a better way to finance it. So this is our best shot.
Right, I agree. But back to your point, if it doesn't pass, if we are bursting the seams, it seems to me there would be a contingency plan B for a smaller scale down the line. Say this is rejected on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't pass, we'll take a look at it. It might be just doing one or the other. Absolutely. Yep.
And financially, how we're gonna pay for this. I mean, the best case scenario is that we have money back for this. As you would do your home or your business, you save back for a project like this. Not popping on the voters, we're gonna increase your taxes over 30 years. And even for our kids who are not able to go to this period, if they move this into this area, they are gonna pay on this. So I mean,
Traditionally, we spend most of what we make, or what we come in as taxes. We don't put a lot back. We wish we could. Historically, like when we built this gym, like when we did the new addition, we went to the voters. And that's usually how school projects of something like this size are funded. Not to say we couldn't have, but money wasn't there.
I've got a statement, don't have any questions. So, when this project first started, years ago, it was the hope that we could do it without, that the community could do it without going to the ballot, without putting this on your taxes. Well, that didn't come to fruition. And this is now what we're going to, and I'm going to say the proposal at that time was good price. The cost is probably more than double. It's never going to get cheaper. it's always going to cost you more. It goes up. So to the point of trying to save money and set it aside, that doesn't work. You set it aside and inflation goes up. You didn't save enough to overcome what it would have cost you. So you're better off paying over time. I think that it's a good project. You're getting well-rounded kids. The hope is maybe with this kind of project, with the STEM program, maybe we keep some of our youth in our communities where we're having them going off to college and leaving. You know, maybe we get maybe it helps our community as a whole because we have good citizens, new homes built, more taxes come in, and so it's better for everybody. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, that sounds good, but when the people don't have the money, what are you gonna do? You know, I look at it this way, the money you have, get what we need right now, without doing a levy. And I don't know, my dad always taught me, don't buy unless you have the money. Maybe our school systems need to do that.
Well, I'd venture to say, as a response to that, I'd venture to say if everybody in here only bought what they had the money for, we wouldn't have anything.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't buy it.
And going off what Pat was saying before, the money, we talk about saving money for the school. When I became superintendent, Lori told me that the money we get, she doesn't necessarily say that we put it towards the kids. We put a lot of money towards the special education program, the STEAM program, programs for our kids, updated curriculum. We have one-on-one laptops. We want our kids to have the same opportunities as every kid in the state, maybe even a little bit more. And we've been, as this community, this school, sitting good, and we have an opportunity here. As you said, it's not going to get any cheaper. It would have been a nice choice to make maybe 5-6 years ago. We can't predict what's going to happen. But I know that the money that we do spend here goes towards our students, and we've done a really good job of keeping resources for our students, keeping our teachers, bringing in one-on-one aids when we need to, and we do need to. There's still needs out there that we need to take care of as they arise. So I just wanted to put that out there.
You said what could happen. Well, why are you having us pay for it? You don't know what's going to happen in our tax. You're going to more settlement, more stuff.
Well, I know.
I mean, we're thinking more of a risk than what you are.
Yeah, but that's, the state has put our communities in charge of our education for our kids. I mean, that's just how it is. I get it.
And U.S. News & Education said that your annual revenue is 15.7 million. Your annual expenses are 12.6. What is that per million?
I don't know if
Where did you get, what numbers are you talking about?
U.S. News.
U.S. News?
And education.
Okay.
The American people of any school system area. And then also, you got to get $1.8 million a year.
You do.
How long is this levy for?
30 years.
So in 30 years, you're going to have $60 million roughly between solar and windmills. That should pay for this versus us taxpayers. Correct?
No, because it depends on how those windmills keep generating. So, as Chad had explained, those leases are only out there for so long, and then they have to be redone.
Okay, but we've already had it for 10 years. We've already paid $18 million.
Well, but that money has been, the majority of that money that we take in for windmill, we have spent on special education. We have put programs in place to help those children who struggle so that we can hopefully get them, up to where they need to be. We've spent about $1.5 million on that.
1401, which is a conservative less. The government block was 14-1.
Yep.
And I have no problem with those children getting the help they need or get everything. I have no problem with that. When 49% of my real estate tax goes to the school and not even increasing more, and then the people that live in the county, they pay an average of 69% of their property tax goes to the school. 69%. That's a lot of money.
And how much was it for Wayne Trace?
69% goes to Wayne Trace on average for county residents out in the county. If you live in the village, it's different because you have the village taxes and everything else. And I say 49% to Wayne Trace.
Yep. Trying to uncurl that. Lori, let's start off from the beginning. What is our budget this year?
Our budget is, our general fund budget is $16.8 million, right around there. Our total budget is $25 million.
Total budget is 25.
That's all of our state grants, our federal grants, cafeteria fund, all the other funds besides our general fund. Permanent improvement, our bond fund, it's $25 million. That's what we have estimated for this year.
That's including investments, or?
That's our budget.
I know how the budget and investments work.
So,
That's including everything, that's what you're using this year.
that is what is estimated that we will spend, okay? That's on everything, and I'm talking federal grants that we take in state grants. Now, when you talk about investments, we earned about $850,000 in investment interest last year. And I think we do a good job as far as our investing of the money that we have. As far as the revenues coming in, we're going to be over and above what our estimate is in our general fund, probably about $1 million. That estimate of what is over and above our expenses is what goes into our PI fund for us to keep our buildings up. That is something that we just started here probably about 9 years ago, starting to move money over there so that we have money to keep our buildings up. With the UFCC project, you guys lived the good years and there was nothing done to these buildings. And then all of a sudden, now we've got to replace roofs. This roof here was done in 3 phases. It was $1 million to replace this roof. And we got to do those things to keep our buildings up. We don't want our buildings to go down. So we have been putting aside money for those things. So when you talk about the difference in the revenues versus the expenses, that's where we are putting our extra money, is going into the PI fund.
I have no problem with it, or air conditioning, like that. I have no problem with that. The auditor values reimburse these lots in the building at less than $7 million. And now you're proposing to build a $30 million project, that's 4 times what the value is of the building as it says. I don't understand. Let's do like a section. I mean, why 30 million at one time? To me, it's just like the lady said, you know, if I have a project in my house, I have 6. I don't count on my neighbors to chip in.
Can the administration tell me why this chart that's been on your website for several months disappeared? It's not on there.
It's still on there. I printed it off today before I came.
It's not in the same spot that it was.
It should be under the Board of Education under financial data.
You wouldn't know revenue chart.
Yeah, it's
You have to
not
say that's
much
what you're
information.
building after.
Yeah, there's several things under that financial data on our website. Our 5-year forecast is out there. Our windmill money that we generate is out there, and we're spending it on. I've got a millage summary out there. So there's a lot of information out there that you can go out and take a look at on our website. It's under the Board of Education tab, and then go down to financial data.
By law, you can't tax you any less than 20 mil. And when you have a couple things, on top of that, we can't tax you any less than about, what, 23 or so? I mean,
Well, the 20 mil floor, that is what the state says the community has to pay for their school districts. So anything over and above that is things that, we do extra over and above operating.
Okay. And that 20 mil, I mean, and that's been there for as long as I've been on board, probably as long as, a long, long time. That 69%, what you're talking, that hasn't changed a heck of a lot. It hasn't like it's gone up.
But it will with this.
It will. We'll actually go from being the third lowest school district in the area to like the fifth lowest school district in the area. So, you're right, it'll go up a little bit, but just like it did when we built this auditorium we're sitting in now, just like it did when we did the building project 20 years ago, which is pretty much off now. But the folks that were living here then, our parents, our grandparents, decided, you know what? Things are tight, but we want a good school. And if we want to keep a good school, I guess our taxes will go up a little bit for a while.
I understand that 20 years ago, I was here, I voted for almost every levy that the school was put on. But it just, to me, it seems like the need is a lot smaller than the want.
I think what Jeremy said at the beginning is really important. We've sat in board meetings and he talked about the diversity of this board. If you see if you go look at the STEAM program right now and the lack of space that they truly have, and the space that our wrestling room and the weight room are taking up, I think if you would sit and see those things, I think you would come to those conclusions like Jeremy mentioned. I think that, it's been 20 years since we've done an infrastructure project here in our district. I think that's very important to know that, my generation is, the one right above me technically has not paid for the school that they have earned. Those that paid above them, before them, supported them and voted yes for the levy. And I think it's our turn to do that. And I think as we've talked, as we've sat and seen the STEAM program and how we would like it to grow, this is the conclusion that we came to. And it's the best benefit for the students that we came up with. I mean, that's a personal opinion.
He says there's 20 years and you still haven't paid that one off, you've already outgrown it. What's the guarantee that on this 20 years, we're not going to be busting the seams and you come back and say, we did that again?
I mean, in 20 years, we're probably going to do another project. That's how, 20 years before they did this, they did something.
I get it. We want to expand, we're not
Right.
going to plastic.
We're not even done paying off our last debt. Do we want to take another debt? Does that financially make sense?
You have something.
So inside, so the auditorium that they're building there, is it going to be similar to like what Baylor has? And I'm just curious on is it going to have seating like that? Where, like a stadium seating? Or I wasn't sure what the inside of the auditorium looked like.
It's gonna, I would call it more of an updated version of what Payne has in the center of the district. Okay, Payne is outdated and wasn't built to do what it is, and it's not where it needs to be to service the community well. But it's definitely not what Pamward has or what Sonora's built. It's scaled down to what we think the community needs, what the programs we have need, but it's not outrageous.
I was just curious on that because I was wondering, I saw it on the website, I'm not renting it. I was figuring if it was going to be like Baylor's, I thought it was something as a revenue source, but since it's a smaller thing.
It's the same size.
Yeah.
600.
600?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
A little bigger.
It was originally set up, they had kiosks in it, coat rooms. we whittled it down to more reasonable for us. We weren't gonna rent it out because we wanted to be, because it's gonna be used for educational space. So that's what our intentions are for. The community wellness center could be rented out for the same as what we're renting out, say, our cafeteria, if someone has a graduation party.
Will that money go, that's paid in rent, will that go towards a mortgage? Or is that gonna go towards, funding something else?
No rent is being planned for
No.
We rent our facilities out very, very low. We feel that these.
I understand, but where will that money go?
It goes back into the operating budget.
So
is where it
could that
goes.
money go towards our,
But we
mortgage?
probably
How
don't
to
take
help
in
it all?
$600 a year for rent because we just charge such a little amount because we feel these are you guys' buildings as well.
But aren't you looking for that to grow with the new building? Aren't you looking to rent that out more often and be more revenue coming in?
No guarantee.
I mean, ain't that, I understand, no guarantee, but is that what our goal is?
The goal is not to make revenue.
Yeah.
It's not a money-making venture.
Yeah. And maybe it makes $40 a year off renting out the facility.
I'm just wondering where that extra money is going.
It'll go into the operating, the general fund. And then, like I said, at the end of the year, we transfer money into our permanent improvements. So, it's kind of going into
Okay,
that.
that's fine, thank you.
Did I hear you correctly say,
Okay.
I have a statement based off of what people have said. I don't think the goal for Waitrose should be to pay the most amount of taxes. Like, I think that it should be a bragging that we are paying the least amount of taxes, and I feel like it's like, oh, well, we need to pay a little bit more. And also, those of us that are against this levy are not against the children. I hope that there's an understanding there. It's against the plan. This seems very over the top for Little Paulding County. And I want to make sure that you guys know, and the people that are here that know, I work at a Paulding County company. My hours have been cut drastically all year. They're looking to, we've had a lot of people get fired. I know another large Paulding County company, people are told for the last 2 weeks not to come to work. Things are bad. Things are really bad. And the property taxes don't decrease just because our income decreases. My family is really struggling. We are trying to build a house with no mortgage because I don't believe in a lot of debt. I believe in living by your means. I don't believe in asking a whole bunch of people to pay my stuff. So, life is tough right now, and then to come in and ask for this, and you may say it's not a lot of money, it's a lot of money to senior citizens living on Social Security, it's a lot of money to single parents that are trying to feed their children. This is a lot of money. But my question is, how many school nurses do we have in the district? One. Okay, that gets shared between 3 schools, correct? How many school security officers do we have in the district? One. They get shared between 3 schools? Okay. So the average school nurse salary per year is $56,000. I just want to let you know that according to the state of Ohio, the average school security officer wage is $46,000. When are we going to protect our children that way? Oh, one more thing, sorry. On August 8th, it was posted on Facebook that children that had an overdue balance on their meals would be receiving alternate meals. And I didn't actually see the post because it was removed so quickly due to the community backlash and the community that came together to pay those bills. So when are we going to make sure that our children, and I don't want to hear the free reduced lunch, what about taking some of the money to pay for our children's meals?
On the school meals, we had done that in the past. Our director of cafeteria and food services had done that before, and nobody said anything. She thought it would be okay to do that again. During COVID and some time after that, our lunches were free. The government paid for them. They put a stop to that, and then we went back to having to charge for meals. And immediately, our cafeteria sees a deficit on a yearly basis, and the idea behind that, and we took it off. I took it off of social media because we didn't want to do that because of the strong feelings. As I said before, though, it was done once before, as I understand it. So no, we don't like doing that either, but we have a lot of debt that comes from that. Students, and we're trying to figure out a different way to do it.
This is an $8 payment. Okay, I got to figure out it's an $8. How many homes in the county are really over 100,000? So that's going to be less than that. I'd say. I mean, I'm sorry. You've got to be well, most of the farmers, yes, but some of these people don't pay taxes at all. Question or anything because they don't own the property.
So I think what you guys are doing, I think is great. And I think there's a definite need for the music kids. I mean, I played music my whole life. And these guys, these kids, how many times have they gone to state and they've done so well in the facility that's already here? They definitely deserve an upgrade. The football field out here, oh my goodness, I couldn't tell you how many years I've worked out there, and I see the need for the locker rooms and having the weight room out there, okay, fine, but I think there's so much hype about this wellness center that I think, to me, looking at the people that I get to serve in my job every day, that sometimes they can't afford to pay their kids lunches. Sometimes they can't afford to fix their car. I can show you open ROs from this year on the loss I'm going to take because I chose to serve people and take care of them and make sure they're safe. Benny's got the same thing in his shop, I'm sure. At the end of the day, you put this tax on those people, how are they going to pay that when they can't afford to fix their car or pay for their kids' lunches? Oh, and let's go to, we're all about the kids. What about that family that can't afford to put their young little boy in baseball because they can't afford it? I believe that we should be able to come up with a plan to take care of the things you're talking about. But there is a lot of middle-class people that they're not living in $200,000 homes and they don't know where their meal's coming at tonight. And that's something that needs to be considered is, you know, we have a great school. As far as I'm concerned, Wayne Tracy is the best school in the state of Ohio. I love this school. I've donated tons of time to this school over the years. I love what the board does. The board they need to be put on some kind of a payroll because they work their butts off. And they've done a great job over the years. But in the way the country and the way the world's going right now, you know, when somebody is delinquent on their property taxes, is the school going to jump in and help that family out? I don't think so. They're going to go get another job just to try to be able to take care of their family and take care of the taxes. So I believe in what you guys are trying to do, but it's a hard pill for me to swallow. Even though it's, 47 cents a day? Well, to some families, that's not affordable. It's just not.
That's per 100,000.
Well, I understand that. I understand that. But a lot of these people are not living in $100,000 homes. You know, and they're struggling to do the maintenance on their house. When you talk about you've got money in the bank, well, how many people in the county that are middle class that don't have jobs have money in the bank? I see it every day in my customers. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Well, you know what? We're going to take care of you because God has blessed me to help take care of people. Today, those people can't afford it. I'm sorry, and there's a lot of them. You know, I wish I could say I'm living in $1 million house and it ain't no big deal to me. I'm not going to have a problem with the tax increase. But there's a lot of people that I take care of just in game that they can't do it. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow. But it shouldn't come at the sacrifice of giving the kids an awesome music program. It shouldn't come at the sacrifice of having the locker rooms out in the football field like they should have been like 25 years ago. You know, it's a hard pill for me to swallow when I see people that they're not going to be able to pay the taxes. They're struggling to do it now. How many people in the Wayne Trace School District are delinquent in their taxes? Anybody know?
I was just in the newspaper in Polling Progress this week, and they would like to look at this. Pretty substantial.
Paulding County is one of the poorest communities. They can't help handicapped kids.
You know, and they all deserve to be helped. And it's like, at the end of the day, you know, taxes to death, but when we can't pay it, county's gonna foreclose and property's going up for sale and move on to the next property. And it's not fair, it's not right.
I would like to say that our school does do a lot for some of the families and kids.
I do agree.
I got guidance counselors that deliver meals, I deliver meals, every principal has delivered meals. Just throwing it out
Just so
there.
you know, and I know all that, and it's great. But when it gets into this crunch that we're in right now, you know, I mean, yeah, is it gonna last? No, it's not gonna last. Are we gonna rebound and be fine? That's great. But we need to do it when we're rebounding, not when we're headed down hill.
Again, watching the conceptual revenue here, I see the auditorium, I see the central office, and I see a community wellness center. I guess my question is, why is the County District and Board of Education to provide a community wellness?
Well, let me speak to that a little bit.
Please.
Board, what we're charged with is looking for, is looking for student welfare, all right? I mean, that's what we're here for.
I'm sorry, we're looking for student welfare?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to see what's best for the students. So, one of the things that's been ongoing is the music program, because it has grown tremendously. When I came on the board 20 years ago, there were 30 people in the band, maybe 20. I was in the choir, there was probably, 15 kids in that. Now you're talking 100 plus. And heck, we didn't even know there was a state competition. Now they're going to state and getting Superior. I mean, it's just grown tremendously. And we had a lot of community support to do something to add here for the music program and support it because we needed more space for that. And there was also the auditorium, but pain is just, built in the WPA and the Depression. It just doesn't keep up with a lot of things. So and it's always been, it was built for Payne, it wasn't built for Wayne Trace, which means people from Mandale are going a heck of a long way if they want to be in the music program. So that was the first step in trying to put that in. Now recently, we've had a lot of support, or I'd say growth in STEAM programs. So science, technology, engineering, arts, music. And in doing that, it's been almost organic, driven by the teachers and by the students here, trying to give them more opportunities on different things in the science and technology stuff. A lot of support. But what we found we're running into in doing that is it takes space to be able to do it. Space because it's kind of a little bit beyond what we've traditionally provided. So when we looked at that and said, we want to be able to do this, I mean, we're sticking stuff in the library, we're sticking stuff in different places just to keep these things going. And we took a good look at where the opportunities were in the school and in the three schools. And what we found was there was quite a bit of space in the schools for non-educational stuff. We have a great wrestling program that we were able at one time to put up behind here, but it has outgrown that by far. So So when we lost a couple of programs, we moved them into a classroom and a half now, maybe two. When I was in school, it didn't really have a weight room. Maybe a back end somewhere, but there wasn't much to speak of. But over time, we've grown to where we have a pretty decent weight room, and we didn't have any place to put that outside the school, so we ended up taking 2 classrooms in the school. So we said, we want to do STEAM, and we want to, if we're going to lead, and that's who we want to be as a school. We want to be somebody, a school that's going to lead science and technology and bring that to our students as well as the music side of it. If we're going to do that and free up room, well, we've got to figure out a place where this weight room and wrestling program can go. And then we got a grant for what was the grant? How much? $2.4 million for STEAM. And they said, but you got to have space for it. Okay, well, let's figure out what we're going to do here. So when you say community wellness center, I guess the origin wasn't a community wellness center. The origin was trying to develop, and it wasn't locker rooms. It was to develop space within this school to support STEAM and our students. That's what our thinking was. And to be able to do that, we came up and said, to do that effectively, we could do something with a locker room and we could move it close out there, and that might make the most sense. So that's where it came from. It's really, the origin wasn't to create a space for a community wellness center. The origin was supporting our students in these STEAM programs that we're trying to do, and how are we going to free up space for them. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, it does. I think you'd have better success at selling if you would actually bring them to that instead of the wellness center.
Yeah.
That was my very first question. Not to be snide, what businesses does the Board of Education provide a wellness center?
Yeah, but that's the logic behind it. I hope that makes some sense to you.
Can I ask you, what is the population in each class? Has it decreased over time or has it increased?
Dramatically over time. When I was in my class was 112, now they're around, a big class is 80. Yeah.
What was this last class versus what's coming up?
The next 3 I think are in the mid-80s.
How many's in the sophomore class?
They have 366 students enrolled at Wayne Trace High School and junior high.
There you go.
15 years ago, we were over 1,000 students.
So it's decreasing.
So it's decreased over
So it
time.
should free up more classrooms.
But it's the programs that we have.
For a lot of people, we were typically 90 to 110 students.
Yep.
Much of the baby boom generation's kids. We find it very hard to believe that we're out of the room and busting at the seams of the state of class 14, and you have a significant drop in students. I mean, I understand you don't want to be 25 and 1 teacher ratios like we were in the 90s.
That's where we were.
But what gives?
I would challenge you to go down to the music wing if you don't think that's busting at the seams. And I don't say that sarcastically at all. But if you have kids involved with certain things, you realize what's going on, and that is a dire need in the school system, is to give them more space. My wife just walked in there last week and she said, that room kind of stinks. Guess why? It stinks because there's a lot of kids in a small space.
And the other 2 things were, Chad, is we didn't have a wrestling program taking up rooms. We didn't have 2 rooms set up for weight rooms when we built the school. We can eliminate it. We're trying to free up space and get back to where the usable space in this school was, is for the students, which is where it wasn't 20 years ago.
We have more classrooms now for students that need more help than 15 years ago. We have students that require, and I don't know why the trend is that way. We have students that require one-on-one, require a separate classroom. And we've added quite a few of those in our 3 buildings.
Speaking of the MRD, the special needs, whatever you want to call the students, I'm happy to see them integrated, but why are we still paying for MRD, which that is another significant thing to bring up tonight, is the county commissioners and the MRD board worked out an agreement. We have not been collecting on MRD taxes. There's several levies. Those levies will start getting collected in 2025. So without voting anything in for Wayne Trace, everyone in this building who is a resident, their taxes are going up next year. 2.9 mil, that's assuming that MRDD board gets the renewal, but who does not vote for handicapped kids? It's something that's pretty hard to campaign against, and I'm not campaigning against it. But that money should go with the kids. It shouldn't go to a big slush fund of MRDD that is not being used.
The millage for the MRDD, you're right, they had an agreement they didn't collect. They collected up until 2022 on that mill, or on those mills, and then they reduced them, and now they're going to put them back on in 2025. That we can't control.
And I'm not saying you can, but you speak about handicapped kids. Why does that money not travel to Wayne Trace, Poland, Antwerp? A few years ago, they had $5-6 million in the MRDD budget.
Yep.
But the rules have changed for the K-12 students. They are now back in our schools. And
I understand there's one-on-one instances in several of the school districts. That takes a lot of time and a lot of planning.
I wish we could answer your questions, Chad, but I'm no expert on MRDD's taxes and why they're not
Those
coming in.
dollars follow those kids clear through adulthood. So a lot of those, what we think of as kids are adults. So that money starts from when they're young and it follows them all the way.
I've worked with several of those kids on the basketball marathon committees. I know a lot of those kids personally, and I have nothing against them, but it seems like we're paying twice for the same students myself.
Yep. Can't answer that. Don't know. We get the money that we get for our students. And as far as what MRDD does, I can't answer that.
And we are funded a little bit higher on those students because of their special needs. They take more care.
What question? Oh, there we go. Mr. Stoller.
I want to echo something Clint said earlier. He said every generation needs to make a capital improvement. I'm ready to vote yes for something in this district. But 2 years ago, we sat here at some of the campus to discuss. And I guess my question is, are we 20 years to discussing that again? Because it seems like it's been 20 years since the last capital improvement. If we were to pass this, are we set up to go another 20 years?
I think our schools are set up to where they can last 20 years. I'm fairly confident of that. With maintaining them the way we are now with the permanent improvement fund. When we did took a survey of everything, there were definitely some voices that were saying, why don't we go in the middle? But there were more voices that were saying, man, if you build a building in the middle and take the schools out of Grover Hill and Payne, those towns are going to, they're just going to dry up and blow away. So I think there was more support at that time to keep it where it's at. So,
and I'm not in support of a single campus. I guess more of the question is, are those Payne and Grover Hill buildings, are they sufficient? And is the district sufficient to go 20 more years incorporating something major for the voters again?
Well, I think that's what we're working on by putting our permanent improvement dollars aside so that we can continue to keep the buildings up.
Yeah.
How much do we put in the permanent improvement funds
Each year, it depends on how much money, well, first of all, the income tax monies, there's so much allocated from the income tax revenue that goes into the permanent improvement fund. It's 30% of the 0.75% income tax levy. The 0.75% that you renew every 5 years, 30% of that goes into the permanent improvement fund every year, no matter what. We are transferring more than that every year. We started doing that about 9 years ago when we knew we were going to be facing, replacing roofs, HVAC, flooring, different things like that. So it depends on how much money we operate on and what is left over at the end of the year. Then we transfer that into the PI fund.
So on average, per year, what do we have in there?
Right now, we've got a little over 4 million. We transferred in 3 million last year from our general fund. And then the year before that, it was a little more than that. It just depends on what our needs are every year.
We went through and redid the roofs, and that was pretty pricey to do that, and that's why.
Right, I mean, I asked because when Garmin Miller did a survey of every campus, right?
Yes, we did.
And they came up with a short-term bucket, long-term bucket. Those buckets together were 30 million. So, can we spend 30 million over the next 20 years just to improve that? Are we going to support that?
Yeah, I mean, our current level of spending, I think so. And when they gave that, we went back and took a good hard look at that.
And some of that was what they suggested, and what they suggested and what you actually need, maybe a year, 2 year difference, maybe 5 year difference. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of looking at that plan. I mean, that has not been forgotten. And we're trying to project out into the future what we are going to need and try and take care of those things and try and be in a preventative phase instead of
Proactive, not
reactive.
reactive. And that goes to, and your point goes to good one. We'd like to have people like Garmin Miller come in and do a review and take a look at it every few years to say, okay, what are we missing? How are we doing? And they thought the buildings overall were in pretty good shape, but they stuff ages. HVAC systems don't last forever. And try to stay on top of it. Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned that people come in and look at the buildings as a whole and see what you need. You're going to have a advisor come in and look at your budget and where your spending is to see where you can utilize it strategically spend money. I mean, I know, like, I work with a financial advisor when I retire, here's my goals, and they help you do a budget, say, okay, what's really needed, where's the waste, where can you save? Have you looked at outside people for feedback on that, instead of just going straight to
What the board does, and I'll throw Lori under the bus here, we spend a lot. We have a treasurer with 30 years of experience in school funding, but it doesn't mean that missing something. So, Lori, I'll challenge you. How do you stay ahead of it, and how do you stay sharp and look for different things, different opportunities?
Well, by analysis, I mean, always analyzing what our budget is, what funding, gotta look at your funding, how it's gonna come in, how do we invest? I gotta look at, how we can invest and maximize our dollars that we have sitting around. It's just all the time looking at analytics.
You do.
Which I did, I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, but because they're outside to take away that unseen bias, and everybody has some kind of bias, but have you considered outside? Do you, challenging, do you really need this, or can you do this instead?
We have not had a financial advisor come in.
Cup report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the cup report, you do a comparative analysis, you do comparative to schools. We have people come in and look at the building, like for energy savings. We've done that in the past to see what we can do. So some of the changes we've done in lighting, some of the things we've done that, we're just trying to become more economical, more energy efficient. But remember, about 80% of our spending, people. And then it comes down to what programs you're going to offer and what programs you don't. When I came on the board, we didn't have very much money. We didn't have much money in the bank. So it was stripped down to where a lot of programs were going away, and we were talking about pay for play for sports and everything else, and we just didn't have funds. We've been able to add a lot of programs back, like elementary guidance, okay? Heavens, I would have never known what elementary guidance was when I was in 5th or 6th grade, but now we have it. Because our student population's changed, and most schools have that now. Just to give support to the students, because the students seem to need that and need that support. But those are the type of programs that I get nervous about if they wouldn't disappear. So we try to support them.
If you go back to your previous statements, you had mentioned that most people didn't want the centralized location. Did you guys actually take a vote on that, or is it just those voices were loud about it? Because I remember coming to that, and there's a couple people that were very boisterous about their opinions on that. So was there a true vote or survey or something really gathered to really capture that's what people really felt, or is it just the voices that you heard the loudest?
No, it was really survey based. When we got 28% of the people that returned their survey and looked at it.
So that was one of the questions that I think I answered.
I guess just to add to that, when we talk about a central campus, we'd be looking at a lot of money. And is now the right time? I mean, we have questions now, is this the right time for what we're wanting to do now?
That's what I think, that's what I'm saying right now, it's not, is it need, I think everybody agrees that community building would be great, I think everything is free, and put it back with the students. I struggle with timing, I was down when I was back in gym, my company's been letting people on 500, 100 people at a time. I was there for over 18 years, I thought I'd retire from this thing. So it's a very uncomfortable time, and then you have this price, who's to say the owner price doesn't skyrocket? What does that mean you're left? I mean, I know there's never a good time, but right now is a bad time of any time. Someone's going to hold it down, it's not an upward. I mean, I see people attacking people on Facebook, oh, well, farmers, if they have $1 million, they should also afford it. You don't know their financial situation. My mother-in-law, she's widowed, she's all retired, she has farmland, and she rents it. Is she going to be able to afford that? I mean, that is where I struggle. I think that's where a lot of people are struggling. Have we looked into other ways to, I mean, I know I hate fundraising, but I think farmers would rather donate $10 million for $10,000 to write off an taxes donation versus paying $10,000 taxes. Is there a way that we can say, let's have a 5-year plan or whatever, say, let's see how much we can raise before imposing a tax? Has any thought been to something like that? Or is it just straight, let's go to the tax levy and that's how we're going to raise the funds?
No, I think Brad was talking a little bit ago. I mean, when we started talking about doing the music program, we tried to initially privately fund it, so we wouldn't have to go to the taxpayers at all. And after investigating, the board was going to chip in, a couple $1 million and see if we could get the rest. It just wasn't there.
But partly that's the part I think people would really need to donate. I mean, have you publicized, hey, we're looking for donations, they're looking to fund this. You said privately, but have you gone to the meeting? Because everybody rallied around for school lunches. Maybe you have, I haven't seen that.
There was a committee, I don't know what's that, 2017, that tried to raise money for it. That's the time I was talking about when the board put money back.
That money was held at public
And it will be spent on this project.
There was a group of people from the board that tried to do it.
It wasn't from the board.
There's companies that you hire and financially raise money for projects.
I think they looked at that. They didn't go that way.
I'm just saying, I appreciate what you guys got, and I'm gonna go there because I think it's good. My wife did. The thing that I don't like is you said that you don't want to use the building for financial gain. do it twice a month, that's $30,000 a month. That's silly. That's silly.
It wasn't the original intent to do that, okay?
Well,
I'm not saying that we'd ever shy away from that, but it wasn't.
But I
the
think
intent was
we
to
should put a
support.
plan together as a group that shows us that we're trying to do more than just what we can. We're trying to make out there we can make money. I'll pay for it.
Appreciate that.
So my thought is, thinking back off the Tommy over there, he brought up earlier that we are building this building. No, it's not the nice one, but it's gonna, if it seats 600 people, why wouldn't we use it to make money? I know there's certain, I'm gonna just say sects of people in the community that don't want to pay for entertainment. I'm not one of those people. I'd rather pay $20 to go watch comedian at the auditorium. But I'm saying, it would be, I'm not gonna build a building or sign up to build a building and just leave it sit there. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think we need to put some kind of a financial plan together that shows us that you're gonna say, make $20 million off that building over the next 30 years. Selling tickets a couple times a month. I mean, look, I'm in support of it 100%. I think the kids need it. If you've ever been to Payne Elementary and went to the basement, you would understand why we need this building. Payne is falling apart. That auditorium is not sufficient for anything that these kids are trying to do. I'll be honest with you, I love football, but I don't care if they build that or not. The auditorium needs to be done. That's just the way it is. If it's cheaper to do it all at once, I'm all for it. But I was going to vote no, to be honest with you, until I came here and just, sorry guys, but our attitude's poor. You can't, progress isn't free, and you have to, if we're going to make progress, we're going to have to spend some money. Look, I don't want to spend any more than you do. I really don't. But the only way you're going to advance and grow this school is to spend a little bit of money. So.
No, I don't need that.
Sure. Yes, you do.
Of all the employees under Wage Trace, how many are out of county? How many are out of the district?
Out of the district?
Yes.
I don't have any. We did discuss it. I don't have it. I can get it.
Can you repeat the question?
She asked how many staff members here, teachers, staff members, work are from the district. In other words, how many are outside the district?
What I will tell you, more than I'd like, okay? There was a time when just about all the administration, you know, everybody was from the district. And I like that. I think every school deserves that if they can. And I think that goes into how we would hire. Administrators are just tougher to get and they're tougher to find.
Not saying anything against that. I just
But no, you had a real.
You want the person who does the job best, whether they're in county or in district or not.
Yeah. And it's just tough to find, but I like my living here. I do. So we do have a good history of, and continue to, for teachers hiring our own, and bringing them back to this district. And I like to see that.
Can I ask you why was there only one proposal? I think it'd be better to have two proposals so people could look at a second option rather than throw everything on a levy.
Are you saying like, as I stated at the beginning, the board of education.
That's a real good question. You guys want to answer it? Y'all killing it, man. Oh, now. you know, we got two things we're looking at. Okay, we got the auditorium, we got supporting STEAM. Which is more important? Which comes first? Or do they both come together? Right now, I need both of them. I wish I could do that. In fact, we've been looking to do the auditorium for some time. But now we've got this STEAM thing and trying to support that and science and technology and all of that at the same time. It's like, well, you hold off on it. Will you need it less than 5 years? Will you need it more than 5 years? What will you lose by not supporting STEAM for 5 years? Well, you'll lose some of that grant money, that's for sure. Like $2.4 million, you won't be able to spend all of it. So that, I think, and the combination of just the need is why we went forward with both of them together. Did we look at them independently? Yeah. But it was probably the auditorium first and then the STEAM. Trying to support that, and especially with the grant that we had, and says, you know what, we have the need now, let's just move forward.
I was just going to say, from everything that I've heard before tonight and tonight, I think you as a board have been fiscally responsible, and that's what we can ask for as taxpayers. Secondly, this school, I think when we talked in that meeting, we lost 20% in 20 years. We were 1,000 kids, we're down to 800 kids. If you want more people to move to this area and people to stay in the area, you have to spend money on the stuff that makes them come here. I don't want to pay the money. I'd rather not. I hate taxes. But from what I see is if you want people here and you want this school to get back and more kids to stay and more kids to move here, it takes things like this to make that happen. So I'll stand behind it. I believe you guys did your research. I'm interested in a backup plan. I can't imagine being a farmer that owns a lot of acreage. I mean, it comes down to dollars and cents to me, and I think that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. But I think that if you want this school to continue to survive and thrive, you've got to put stuff that makes kids want to come here.
As far as as far as the STEM goes, you got my vote. You put STEM on the ballot, I'll vote for that. No problem. In 2020 or 2000s, at the last levies that you had hosted, I think the lady up there had a point. You had separate levies for different projects. You had 3 levies. They all passed. I'm not sure if there was any more. There might have been another levy. Why would you guys force us to have a mega project for $30 million? Looking back at the stats before you updated up here recently to the current stats, it showed the millage that was generated on those levies back then. You had 3 levies, 2 of them were like 23 and 24 years old, and the last was 28. Those 3 levies generated 5.53 mils, which is very similar to what we're talking today. The money that was generated out of those mills was under $6 million. The money today, because of everybody's cost, has gone up in their property values. The millage is $4.9 million proposed and would generate $33 million. That's a significant jump. I know you're using the same millage, but the dollar value is huge.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot of tax for everybody to pay. Most of us don't have multiple millions of dollars worth of land. We all know that. But unfortunately, the other guys are screwed. You know, I just think multiple levies. You might even get my vote on the Performing Arts Center if you did it fiscally responsible. $30
$30 million is too much.
These costs. Yeah.
I want someone to clarify that $8 million. Is that money you have, or is that the money you're expecting to get?
What is that?
The $8 million listed as part of the money, the 30-some million down, some, this, that, renewable. I want to know.
That is
how
money
much
that
is that all money to come in?
That is money that the board is allocating towards this project. They do not have $8 million in savings.
But earlier you just told us all that the money from the windmills was used for special needs and stuff.
Correct. But
Are you definitely going to be able to say you can take all that money that you were spending the last how many years and put it towards this?
I think what you've got is the existing money that we have, is the way I look at it, and I could be wrong, Lori can straighten me out. The way I look at it is, we've taken a lot of the existing windmill money, because before they come in, we were hurt as far as educating in the elementaries, we were hurting in special education. And one of the things that our administration identified is that's where we need to put some funds. We need to hire teachers, we need to hire special education, we need to beef up these elementaries. We can't have 35 kids in a classroom in the elementary school. So a lot of the money that has come in from those windmills, that's where that is. Now, we've got more windmills coming online. So the anticipation is those projects are going to support that $8 million. With these 30 years contracts that are going in right now, that we feel are going to be there for that long.
And how many is there new projects coming in?
We got a solar field that's going to be coming on, and then there's
You're talking
another
a solar
wind
field
farm
in
east of here.
Maine? Are you talking a solar
Yes.
field in Maine?
200,000 next year basically for that. And then 500,000 to 600,000 for the Laddie project. It'll be starting construction next year.
So you're more or less aiming for these
So
new
8 million is still only about a third of what we're getting.
And we are currently we are generating more windmill money than we are spending on our special ed. If you go out to the website and take a look at the graph that is out there on the website, you'll see what we collected in fiscal year 24 and how much we spent of that money. And then that money is being set aside. That is part of the money that we're putting over into the BI fund. And so with that, as well as the money that we're going to generate, I just feel confident that the district is not going to have hardship covering that $8 million.
You basically said about a third of the windmill and solar money is what you've attributed to add to the project, correct? So the other 2/3 is still going to those other programs.
Yep. Good question.
The other 2/3 honestly would be still going into kidneys.
Well, it all-
and projection.
it all goes into
projects
kids, Chad.
might go offline.
Yeah, it all goes into a big pool and just gets distributed. I mean, it's
One or two
mostly-
of those could go offline in
Yeah.
the next 30 years.
Yeah,
so.
okay. Lori's done a good job, and we count on her. I mean, the school board doesn't have to do a heck of a lot, except hire good administrators and keep your eye on the pocketbook. And hiring a good treasurer, hiring a good superintendent is what we try to do. And we've gone out, and Lori we count on her a lot for her financial expertise, her experience, and she's been through a number of building projects and has been around the block. So when it comes to figuring out how to finance a project like this, we do depend on her a lot. So, you can take her advice.
How many students do we have currently enrolled in Vantage?
Advantage?
I think it's quite a bit, right? Our senior class is very heavy.
Right about 70. I'm on the Vantage board. I was president until earlier this year. We have about 70 students from Wayne Trace, juniors and seniors.
69 out of correct? Do we have any expense? Does Wayne Trace have any expense in those children?
Only the busing. We bus the kids to Vantage. That's the only expense we have.
So Vantage is going to lose money if this levy passes, is that correct? Village?
Going to lose what?
Village, if this levy passes?
Okay, you're probably talking about how the windmill money is distributed.
Yeah, correct.
How the windmill money is distributed, it's a pool of money. The pool of money never changes. But every entity that is in that wind farm is into that pool, and their millage is added up into a total amount, and then whatever their percentage of that millage is what they're going to receive in disbursement. Okay? So, yeah, if we put 4.91 mils on, yes, that's going to change the percentage for every entity that's in that wind farm. Now, with that being said, our millage was at 29.4 in 22, and we're now down to 26.2. When that happens, our disbursement went down and everybody else's went up. So every time there's a movement in millage, that is going to change for every entity that's in that.
So you see our millage was at 29 and now it's at 26.
Yeah.
So it's gone down 3 mils in 2 years. We're talking about putting 4.9 back on.
It's an additional 1.71 from what we were in 2022.
So we're returning just a little more than what we were, a little less than 2 mils more you were 3 years ago.
So Vantage will lose some money, and in fact, the township trustees were invited to our last meeting, and I had a spreadsheet that I showed them how it's going to affect them in their revenues.
And Vantage, remember, is spread over 13 schools. Because they're spread over 13 schools, the amount of income that they get as a percentage from the windmills is dramatically less than you have in Trace. All right.
Is that all?
I think we've tried to make a case, and you know, whether you agree or disagree, whether you think it's too much money or not, or whether you think it's the right time or not. I hope you understand that the boards here try to do the best, what we're charged with. We're elected by you folks. Try to provide an educational system for our students, and that's what we're looking for, is build the facilities, not overbuild, but build the facilities we think our students need. And right now, when we took a look at it, with the music program and how it's grown, and the facilities that they needed, and then on top of the STEAM program that we want to support, when you say we want to attract students, we want to be number one in things, not just music, but also, if I want to be, I don't want to be number one necessarily in football, I want to be number one in science and technology, and be known, man, if you want to go to Wayne Trace, you're going to get a good education in science, technology, and arts and music. That's the place to go, and to be able to do that, we felt we needed to get rid of, move some of those things that were taking up that valuable space out of the central school. So you may not agree with that logic, but I want everybody to understand that was our logic in trying to do that. And if I wish it cost less money, I wish we didn't have to pass the burden on to everybody, but what I do want to say is we want to hear what the community says. We're not trying to, I mean, we could duck and weave and put this on a special election in March and try not to have people show up. This November, we're going to have more people vote than probably any election in the last 20 years. We want to know what the community's going to, if they support it or not. And we want to put that out in front of them. So that's what I had to close with. You guys have anything?
You're voting, your kids, grandkids.
Yes, sir. What was that? Like we're paying for what our grandparents vote for. Yep.
I can't make my kids
You're paying for what your granddad voted for.
Can you repeat the question? We cannot hear down here. Yeah. And being a community meeting, I think we need to.
Yep. Appreciate that.
Use the microphone.
What was the comment?
You got it in your hand.
Kelly, you want to speak to it?
I mean, we have a microphone, it's paid for, we can use it. Well, I think we're happy.
All I said is it's not the buildings or the 11, 30 years. We're voting for our kids and our grandkids to pay for that. And I think, I mean, it's wrong. That's my opinion.
Appreciate that, Kelly. And honestly, that's every building project that we've had in the school district is like that.
I was an alumni from this school. I was in the music program. I went to college for music. It's just grown so much from then. You cannot walk down that hallway. My kids are in music. My kids go to school here. It's not just I'm going to choir and singing a song and I'm playing an instrument. It makes them well-rounded. It builds them not just to be children, but to be grown adults in the future. My boys all wrestle. We've had several wrestling rooms in this building. We've moved classrooms. We've been in a balcony. We've rolled mats out to have practice. And we're crammed in this little room. And this year we have women's wrestling, which is the fastest growing sport in the United States. We have high school in a small space, junior high in a small space, and now we get the opportunity to have women, but they're all going to be in the same very compacted space, or we're going to have people coming in at 6, 7 o'clock to start a practice after they've done homework, after they've had dinner, and it's very hard. I mean, it's going to be more running for parents sometimes to be running back and forth. So again, with wrestling, my children travel all over the country to wrestle because it makes them well-rounded people. It builds them into future adults. So I'm a single mom. I live on a very fixed income, but I'm happy to support something like this because I know that it's building my children into well-rounded individuals later in life, and then their children will be doing the same because they're going to have the best school in the area. They're going to want their kids in this area. So just something to think about.
I encourage you, if anyone leaves here tonight, if you have questions, you can call the district office, you can talk to me, you can come into the office. There's also a sheet out there going to put your email, any question. But if there's stuff that we didn't find out tonight, let us know, and we'll take care of it. As far as the question that I didn't know, the district, people that live in the district, I will find that out. We do post information on the Facebook page along with this video, and we have other information on there too. So thank you for coming here tonight.